Hi everyone, 반갑습니다. 또 영상으로 이렇게 인사를 하게 되었네요. 이번 주는 우리가 복습하는 의미에서 지난번에 살펴보았던 사무엘 이야기를 영상으로 시청하도록 하겠습니다. 그럼 바로 영상 보도록 할게요.
In the time of the prophet Eli, there lived a woman by the name of Hannah. She desperately wanted a baby. She had been married for many years, but still had no children. When Hannah visited the temple, she prayed for God to bless her with children. She told God, "If you give me a son, I will give him back to you." During one visit to the temple, Hannah prayed very hard. Her mouth was moving with the words of her prayer, even though she was not making a sound with her voice. Eli, the priest, thought she was drunk and got very mad at her. Then Hannah responded with tears, "I'm not drunk. I'm praying for a son. I desperately want one." Eli responded, "Go. God will give you a son." Then Hannah was overjoyed and she returned home. Then it happened just like Eli said, and God promised. Hannah gave birth to a baby boy and called him Samuel. She was so excited. She remembered her promise to God. She would give Samuel to the Lord to work in the temple. The day came when Samuel was old enough and ready to start work in the temple. Hannah was sad to see Samuel go, but she was excited that the Lord had big plans for him. Eli and his disobedient sons lived in the temple too. Eli was old, so when Samuel came to live at the temple, he had the important task of cleaning and keeping things orderly. So Samuel lived, worked, and slept in the temple. One night, after Samuel had laid down to go to bed, he heard a voice. "Samuel!" It was God's voice, but Samuel didn't know that. He thought that Eli was calling him. He ran to Eli's room and said, "Here I am. You called me?" Eli sat up and looked at Samuel. "No, I didn't call you. Go back to bed." So Samuel went back to bed. A minute later, he heard it again. "Samuel!" He was sure he heard it. Back he ran to Eli. "I heard you call me again," he told him. "No, Samuel. Go back to bed. I did not call you." But then it happened again, a third time. The voice was calling Samuel. Samuel rushed back to Eli's bed and said, "I heard you call me again." Now Eli knew. It was God that was calling Samuel. God had a special message for him. Eli then told Samuel to listen for the voice, and if God called again to say, "Speak, Lord, for your servant is listening." Then the voice spoke again, "Samuel! Samuel!" Samuel looked around in the dark and responded timidly, "Speak, Lord, for your servant is listening." Then God started to speak with Samuel. God told Samuel that he was going to punish Eli's disobedient sons. Samuel was very sad about the message, but he knew that it was important. The next morning, Eli wanted to know everything. So Samuel told Eli that God was going to punish his sons because Eli was not teaching them to obey God. A long time later, it happened, and Eli's disobedient sons died. Samuel grew up and served God with all of his heart. He became a courageous and godly leader of Israel. As a prophet, he received many messages from God to share with the people of Israel.